At some point in the digital age of boss babes, new money, and ambitious rookies, we stopped consulting our village's wisest. Women have been the heartbeat of the world within their respective communities, workforces, and families since the dawn of time. They are the magic makers, the peacemakers, and the ass kickers. Let's celebrate them with the Matriarchy Party. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Matriarchy Party. It's me, Courtney, of course, and we're starting it off with a party of one. January, I tell you, what a year January has been. I recorded a podcast a few days ago and I was a little emo, and I think we're going to redo it because the audio was weird, to be honest. But I have just had the world has been having a very weird month, especially our friends in Los Angeles, which we have one today here as our special guest. But I'm keeping busy and distracted. I think with the world events going on, we just have to keep moving forward and take care of each other. And yeah, with that, I'm going to go to Sundance for the first time on Friday for a couple days, get in some snow, which I'm a very grumpy person when I'm too cold. So we'll see how that pans out, but it'll be fun to get the lay of the land and hopefully see some clients and catch a couple panels and movies and just get a change of scenery and create some energy. And I find whenever I need to create some energy with my business or just life, I book a trip that's creatively inspiring, not necessarily an all-inclusive Cabo drinking margaritas trip, which those serve their purpose too. I love that. But something that's going to invest in me and my business. And so this was on my heart. I was I've always wanted to go. Why don't I go? Let's just book the trip. And then immediately after, the universe rewarded me with new projects that were unrelated, but it's always very affirming to kind of invest in yourself when I've only had my own business for a little under 4 years. And then, so it's always should I be doing that? Should I? But anytime you invest in yourself, the universe just affirms it. And I needed that. So I appreciate the nod. Yeah, lately I've been kind of laying low and just taking care of my mental battery and bandwidth and just trying to take care of my people and just I don't know, in most parts of the country, people are shoveling snow and it's our bodies are meant to rest around this time of year and it's still winter. And I think the start of the new year, I read the other day, used to be in March and now it's January. So I feel there's a reason that all of us are kind of people I've talked to are trying to be cozy and stay inside and be just recharging, because I think this is the time of year to do so. So there's a lot of news coming at us. There's a lot of complicated changes happening, a lot of things to keep up on. And I think it's take care of you and your people so then we can keep doing the good work and just making positive change. But with that, I have such an exciting guest today. I feel sharp pivot here. I love having a guest who I've never met in real life. And this is the first time just a few minutes ago that we saw each other's face. Today, we have such a cool guest at the party, none other than Erin LeBre. Get it right. It's not LeBre. Erin LeBre. She's a 2-time Emmy and Guild Award nominated makeup artist. She primarily works in film and television and is a member of IATSE Local 706. Now, Erin was first on my radar because we're a big Agatha All Along fam. And she's everywhere with the nominations between that and, her most recent work includes The Last Showgirl, Gio Coppola's, which I'm dying to see, and then Marvel's Agatha All Along. So just try not to sing down the witch's road now after this. But she also worked on American Crime Story. She's originally from Boston and grew up as an avid art student. And while she has a degree in fashion merchandising, she found her true passion when she began working at a makeup counter almost 20 years ago. She's been living in Los Angeles for over 17 years and shares a home with her husband and their 4 cats. And thank goodness we've already checked. Family and kitties are all safe from the crazy January that was wildfire. So first I want to level set that we've already talked about it, and thank goodness she's safe and giving us her precious time. But welcome to the podcast, Erin.
Hi, thank you so much, Courtney. I'm actually very excited to be here.
And get to talk about somebody very special in your life and probably your creative endeavors. I mean, supportive of your creative endeavors, I would imagine.
Yes, I will be talking about my matriarch is my mom, the ultimate matriarch, I think, in some people's families.
And she's back in Boston?
No, she's thankfully retired and gets to, she's she's a retired, I should say, school teacher. So my mom was a single mom when I was a kid growing up. So she was actually able to retire early with my stepdad years ago. So I'm so proud of them and again, goals, definitely. So they get to go between Maine and Florida, which they definitely take advantage of. As soon as it starts to get cold in one, they kind of run off to the other, or if it gets too hot, vice versa.
That's
So
the dream scenario.
it truly is. That's, I mean, they are goals. Retire early and stay warm if you want to.
Yeah. Well, and I hear like, not to talk about weather, but like there's this weird cold front that's even impacting Florida right now. Like it's way colder than usual there.
Yeah, I heard they got snow today in the northern part, which
That's
is just out of control.
cool. Well, how long ago did you move to LA then from Boston?
So I did a little hop around before I came to California. So I left Boston after I graduated with an associate's degree and in science, and I moved to New York. And I thought I was going to live the lifestyle.
The
And I
Gossip Girl?
lasted about yeah, I lasted about a year. It was very Double Wears Prada for me, situation wise. So I moved back home and kind of hit that wall of, oh my gosh, what am I going to do with my life now?
Yeah.
I thought I was always going to go into fashion. So I started doing some random jobs, and one of them was actually running into a woman who used to babysit for me growing up since I was kind of back in my hometown. And she worked at a makeup counter. And she said, why don't you do this? You were always an art kid, you love people. And I just thought at the time, I wasn't trained, I didn't know anything. And she said, no, come meet the manager. And 2 days later, I think I started working for Lancome at a department store.
I love that. Well, she's
Yeah.
an integral matriarch in your story as well, then I guess.
She is. She was my best friend's mom. And
Oh,
when I was younger, we would go to her house after school every day because my mom would still be working. And so she actually was a matriarch in my life. You're right. And I've lost touch though. So I don't even know if she knows what I do for a living now, even
oh
though
my
she kind
God.
of was a pivot point in my life.
I'll say
So
now
I
you have
need
to
to track
scour
her
the
down.
internet and track her down.
I need
Totally.
to track her down and and thank her.
Honestly. Well, what I
Yeah.
love about that is I too went to school for fashion and
Oh,
it went a totally different career for apparel manufacturing because that seemed like it had a business component to it,
sure.
which seemed logical, even though I didn't want to manufacture clothing.
Yeah.
But, it doesn't matter. Spent a lot of money in
Yep.
college, not really using most of what I did, but I think
Yep.
the life experience. But I love speaking to like wildly successful creatives who had to start in retail in some
Yeah.
component because like I mean, it's like when you talk to humans and you're like, they must have never worked in the service industry the way that they're behaving right now. I think it taught me so many things. I managed and did new store openings for a few different retail stores, like in
Hmm.
a past life, and like the experience that it gave me in so many areas that are still translatable to being an entrepreneur, and just
Yeah.
I mean, merchandising, marketing, event planning, like there's a lot of different things. But so I love that piece of it because so how long were you with Lancome?
I stayed with Lancome for 2 years. It was definitely a light bulb moment, for me, where it was like, oh, I am marrying art and people and sales. I mean, I liked the business side of it as well. Yeah, it was about 2 years. And then I had an opportunity to go to Florida. My sister was moving down there, and I thought, oh, sure, why not? Maybe 6 months. Um, and so I started working again in retail. I stayed with Bobby Brown and worked at a Saks Fifth Avenue and kind of became a big fish in a small pond in the town that I was in. I got a lot of wedding work, a lot of headshots, family portraits, that type of stuff. And I really loved it. And it just kind of inspired me where, again, I was always a fashion girl. So I was always a magazine junkie. And it was always like, well, look at this person on a red carpet and look what they're doing. And so I had always aspired to kind of go higher with what I was doing. And I liked, once I kind of figured it out, what I wanted to do with my life, I just kept pushing forward. I just kept wanting more. And I then so my 6 month plan turned into 2 years in Florida. I was down there during Hurricane Katrina and Wilma,
My
which
God.
was wild times. And then I moved to California and I put myself into makeup school. I really wanted to learn. I felt like I needed to still learn all the things. I just was like, okay, if I'm going to California, this is really serious now. I
Ah,
got to make sure I know what the heck I'm doing. Because technically, I'd never been trained outside of what, a counter job can do, which is honestly the perfect stepping stone for people who want to get into this type of business or work. You learn so much. You work on people you would never know to work on. You have every age, every skin tone, every type of skin. And it was actually one of the best educations I could have had was just working at a counter day to day, which was cool.
so just start. You got to start somewhere, everybody. Go out,
Yes, just start anywhere. If
start
you
at
are
the mall.
interested in it, start at the mall. You get great practice. It's okay to mess up. No one will probably know. Uh, you do learn how to be clean. And another perk is sometimes you get a lot of free stuff. It's the best way to build a kit. So it's truly my favorite piece of advice to give people.
That's so smart. And
Yeah,
so
it helped a
now
lot.
you've been in LA a couple decades now, and
Yeah,
it's evolved so much. I mean,
yeah.
do you feel like, I mean, you've been working within film and television for almost the whole 2 decades, just jumped right in after school?
Pretty much. I got out of school. I have great timing. So when I moved to California, it was 2008, which was when the very first strike, or not very first, but the last big strike happened. And I didn't know anybody. I just moved myself out here. And so the industry was in a lull at that time. So I went back to counter work. I actually continued my work with Bobby Brown because I loved it. I love that brand to this day. So I continued working for Bobby and would just find jobs on Craigslist was very popular at the time. I had the makeup school I went to had a job board, so I was able to check that periodically. I did a lot of things for free. I did things for $50, $100. But it was great. And that's how I started making my,
Experience.
yeah. And honestly, and that's how you start making your connections.
100%.
I made movies with people now who we came up together. I mean, I look around now and some of those people I met 15, 16 years ago are, in the DGA and they're directing major movies and they're actors, acting in major movies. I mean, it's from top to bottom crew that we all have these nice moments from 15 years ago when we were doing what we could just to get by and now we're cheersing each other, which has been
That's
really
so
fun.
magical.
Yeah, it's really fun. um I showed up to the last showgirl actually last year, and on day one I walked in the door and a friend of mine who's a first AD who's phenomenal was on the other side of the door and he was there and I had no idea.
Oh my,
So yeah, and I probably haven't seen him in 10 years. So it was again the joy of seeing those people can't really compare to almost anything else. There's just a magic to having this old connection, of
God.
success and growth.
And that you have both, I mean, even you're in the similar business, but doing such
Yeah,
different things. Like it's
yeah.
not like you are running into them every year or decade. So I always think it's like that meme of like the minions like freaking out in front of each other because like I haven't been in the business as long as you have. And still when you're like, it's a publicist that I'm like, what? Who's your client here? This is so exciting. Like freaking out like a minion because it's like, even though it's such a small world and there's so much crossover in so many ways, it's always
Yeah.
such a thrill to like have a familiar face. I feel like you're always walking into a new room, new building, new set, and just creative problem solving. Let's just jump right into the deep
Yeah.
end. We're gonna figure this out. And so to have like any kind of like safe person or just you're like, hey, there's a piece of like, look it, we're both doing it after this long, like somebody that you've worked with for 15 years or something, or just started in the beginning of your career. And now like with accolades and award noms and the projects that you're on are awarded as well. And like just to cheer on your friends from afar, like there's nothing like it. That's so cool.
It's so true, and it's wild because the intention, at least for me when I started, is I mean I never even thought I would move to the opposite coast of the United States. I mean I never thought I'd go past like a Chicago. Um, and so then to be here and to have just you just kind of go with the flow. You do what you love, thankfully, and you work and it progresses. And then one day all of a sudden, yeah, there's a nomination at your door, or there's or an interview. And you don't plan on it, but when it happens, it's a beautiful thing, and it's wild, and getting to see that happen for other people who I remember, so long ago, and getting to see them in those positions now is it's so heartwarming. You feel so happy for others at the same time. It's really nice.
Oh, totally. Like we were
Yeah.
talking about writing your own bio. It's like, why is this so awkward talking about myself?
Yeah.
But like, you could probably write any of your friends' bios like so easily. You're like, hold on, let me gas you up because it's always uncomfortable talking about yourself. Like, and just give yourself the flowers that we should be giving our friends and loved ones too. But, and I mean, that's why I love this space because I learned so much about like
Yay.
you and the people around you. I mean,
Yeah.
I usually start this by saying, asking, when we think of a matriarch, we think of a woman who's the head of their tribe or family or organization. When in your own life, do you feel like you had to demonstrate those traits of a matriarch, either by necessity or not?
I think it's I think it's as I kind of rose in my position career wise, now that I'm in more of a managerial boss type of position, I think I've learned from my mom, especially because my mom was the matriarch to two girls and very strong personality girls who don't share the same personality. So I think when you're in a small space for a lot of time with two people who maybe aren't on the same page, which happens with essentially your coworkers a lot,
Yeah.
how to manage that daily life. You are essentially living with these people, every day at work. And for me, that's where learning the patience, learning the kind of, my mom is really great at kind of catering to what each of us needs or to each of our personalities because we are so different, my sister and I. My mom was always so good at managing, like, okay, Erin needs the like strong worded, like, hey, knock it off. And my sister, my sister, she's the gentler one. So my mom with her was like, I need you to stop that right now. Like there was a big difference in how we were handled. And honestly, I find that at my job. I think there are some people who respond better to a little bit of hand holding, a little like, okay, let's do it together, let's figure it out. And then there's other people who sometimes I can just be like, hey, go over there and fix that.
It is so
You
true.
yeah, and finding myself now in a higher position, thankfully on set, I'm finding that type of skill and realizing from my mom that you can't treat everybody the same. Everyone's going to respond to things differently has helped me quite a bit.
Absolutely. I mean, I think there's some degree of like in retail, we learn situational leadership. And I think like that has stuck with me so long because it's literally like some people want just like direct, like give it to me straight, no flowery language. And I've run into that a lot because I'm like talking at top volume and talking with my hand and talking very
Yeah.
fast. And even when I'm like working with different actors, you're like, I'm not
Mhm.
going to talk to like this Gen Z girl who's like very proficient on TikTok, maybe. The same as like a legacy cowboy actor who's 7 years old and maybe needs me to like just walk them through a little slower. And you're not going to
Yeah.
have the same asks, which I imagine is similar to like, you're not going to do the same makeup on every single person and face and complexion and role. But
Yeah,
it's just
100%.
like you have to learn very quickly who it is and what's the objective and kind of just evolve probably daily too. I mean, as the script's changing, but uh,
Yeah.
that's so interesting. What has been like a favorite day at work or like a look that you've done that you're like really proud of in the last years?
Ooh, honestly, I will say almost everything on, well, not almost everything, everything on Agatha all along. I think one of my favorite looks and days was with Aubrey Plaza, actually. We had no time to prepare because she was coming off of another big project. So I didn't get to do any tests with her. So I had to really just whip it up on the day, make it work, and send her to camera, which is a little stressful.
Yeah.
And also, I hadn't really met her, so I was like, I hope she likes me. I hope she likes my makeup. Here we go.
Yeah.
And it was her green witch makeup that I loved so much. It's sparkly and it's gold and it's a lot of things. And I wanted to like tie in the wardrobe and hope she was okay with this big eye. And thank God she loves makeup. So she was like, go to town, which we
Okay,
love her
good.
for that.
Yeah,
So
ideal.
I think that was my favorite part is, it's anytime I can do someone's makeup and they look in the mirror and they smile. That right there does it all for me. It's I want people to feel good. I want them to like themselves when they look up and they see how they are. And she did that. She was really happy with it. And then we went to set and the director was happy with it. And everyone was like, yes, Green Witch, this is so fun. And it was like, okay, I did it. I pulled it out of me, my brain, and it
Yeah.
actually works. So it's that day in particular was a great recent memory. But it's those moments in general. If I can make somebody look at themselves in the mirror and smile and feel good, sold. That's all I need.
That it's well, it's so true. I got my makeup done in the last week for a shoot, and immediately, like you're looking in the mirror, and the makeup artist is looking like your face is like whole totally changes when you see it because you're not looking for however many minutes, and then like so it must be like an instant, like if they're into it or not into it. And I'm sure that sometimes that maybe they're a person who doesn't wear a lot of makeup or like makeup, and then the
Yeah.
director wants it a different way, and there's a lot of opinions on your work, and it's so relative. I mean, you crushed it, obviously,
Thank you.
but like that just I was like combing through like your Instagram when I'm like, I think I'd seen maybe you did a collab post with Aubrey or something. She tagged you or shared a story, and I was like, hold on, what? This is awesome. So as
Thank
somebody
you.
who's just recently in the last year become familiar of your work, I mean, I can't even imagine. I do the same makeup every day and then maybe
Yes.
just a different lip. And so like the superpowers are so strong.
Yeah,
Um,
it's fun.
what do you think your ideal morning routine or day off looks like?
Ooh, I love to sleep. I'm a sleeper.
Here.
Um, so so no matter what, I like to sleep in, ideally. I love waking up. I love coffee. So if I can wake up and just immediately have a cup of coffee in my hand somehow, miraculously, it's
Yeah.
usually my husband miraculously bringing it to me.
Magic.
Um, just I like to wake up slow. I like a slow start to the day if I can. I have, like I mentioned, a whole pile of cats. So I love, when they're just kind of sitting with me in bed and I'm drinking coffee. Um,
Puddle puddle.
Cuddle puddle, just that nice slow wake up.
Yeah. What's your
But
favorite
then
spot in LA?
what's that?
What's your favorite coffee spot in LA?
Ooh, I have a really cute place, thankfully near where I live, called Black Heart Coffee.
Oh, cute.
They're like a one-off shop, and they're adorable and everything's delicious.
Okay, I'll
So I'd
put it
like
back
to go
down.
to them. Yes,
Sorry,
yes,
back to
find
your
them.
day.
No, no, oh no. So my day would then probably consist of going to the beach or to a pool. I'm very much a Pisces, so I'm very much a water person.
Same.
So I love the sunshine. I like to lay out, um, and then probably just go have like an afternoon snack, cocktail, maybe some oysters, and then just also in being with friends or my husband. Just a day of relaxing, being outside, being warm, going in, yeah, some body of water, and being with people I love. I
That
like
sounds
that.
amazing.
I like chill and just, yeah.
No, I agree. I feel like in my 20s, I was grinding, I was making the plans, I was networking, I was go, go, go. And now I still go, go, go. Sometimes you have to, but like when you get
Yes.
those days that I'm like, oh, you don't need to feel guilty for resting, like laying around. And
Yes.
I mean, my friends and I were calling them rot days, where you're just like rotting all day. And I was like, we need to rebrand it. So
Hmm.
like, as a Swiftie, she has a song called The Lakes.
Hmm.
And she's like, I want to let wisteria grow right over my feet. Like I haven't moved in years. And so I was like, wisteria time. It's wisteria time is my new rebrand for that. But I'm like, you just want to lay, you also want coffee, even if I'm lounging,
Yeah.
dogs in the bed. Yeah, I get that.
Any animals, any coffee. I like that too. I think rotting is so negative, and I'm like, people need that
What's
time.
wrong with
People
that?
need to recharge. You need a day in bed. It's okay. It's good to do actually if you
Yeah,
have a time to do it. So yeah, no more rotting. I like the wisteria. It's beautiful. It smells great. Yeah.
cheers.
Wisteria mornings.
Yeah, exactly. Anytime you don't have to be in a hurry, I'm like, I
Yeah.
don't want to be
Yeah.
rushed. I don't want to feel behind, but on a day off, please. My Pomeranian demands a walk every morning and like doesn't care if it's dark out. And we're like, you were going to get eaten by a coyote. We live in Phoenix. And I'm like, you got to wait until the sun's out at least. So, but there's no sleeping in, unfortunately. So like if I need to get back in the bed, then I need to go in. What does success look like to you now compared to like maybe when you were a teenager, 20s, right out of school and wondering, what am I doing with my life?
Well, there are days I still ask, what am I doing with my life? I truly wonder if that ever goes away.
Yeah.
My mom has actually told me it doesn't.
Oh
I will say
no.
my mom verified it doesn't go away. It just keeps changing. It evolves. And I think that's a beautiful opportunity to have if you can kind of reinvent your life anyway.
Yeah.
But it is funny. It really does shift. I am over 40 now, and it has shifted every decade. It's changed from being a teenager who just thought clothing and makeup and partying was cool, and the same in my 20s. Just going out and being seen and all that silly stuff that we do. And then in my 30s, it was definitely about career and money again. I think you never think you have enough. And now that I've hit a nice point where um, I don't really care about any of that anymore. I got married older, which was wonderful, and so now it's just about having core people in my life. It's not about the money. It's not about notoriety. It's actually none of that anymore. What I like to do the most is travel with my husband. He and I are avid travelers. I need to just see more of the world is kind of my ultimate goal. So to me, that's what success is. It's having the ability to spend time with people you love, um, doing something you love is success to me. It's like I get to do a job that I love, and I know a lot of people aren't fortunate enough to say that. I can do a job that pays me, I make money, I can live on, and I can be creative, and I can come home and have what has what I've shaped into a family life. We don't have kids. We aren't going to. We're very happy with where we are, and getting to make that picture that works for us is my success.
And that's still
Yeah.
a family, by the way.
That is
You and your husband.
listen, I have so many just cats alone, but I'm an animal lover. So my goal is actually to get dogs. I would love to have goats, bunnies, fish, birds. So I tell him the more room I get, yeah, I would need a farm. That might be a future
Land.
goal, actually. Small
It's
animal
hard.
farm. Yeah.
Yeah.
My own personal petting zoo would be perfect.
Yes. All of the cuddly ones that like you can like Elmira a little bit.
Mhm. Yeah.
That's so great. Do you have an experience that comes to mind about a time where asking for what you want paid off?
Actually, I have a more interesting way of doing it that I learned from other people. And it's not asking, but I learned the power of saying no.
Mm.
There was a time where, when you're a freelance person, you just take any job that comes your way.
Yeah.
And people say, well, this is all the money we have. This is the budget. And you would at some point go, okay, no problem. Great. Thank you. And then someone said to me years ago, you know what? No, you're worth more than that. You paid the education, you have the experience, you have the skills. So the answer is no. Just start saying no and you'll see what happens. And that terrified me. I thought, I can't turn down a job. That's crazy. Why would I do that? I don't have anything else booked that week. And they just said, if it's not the right number, say no. A better option will come. And I just thought that was insane. And it was probably about 8 to 10 years ago. And I finally had a day where someone asked me to do a job and it was a very low rate. And I finally just said, I'm sorry, I'm unavailable. I can't do it. And I think 2 days later, I got a call about another job for about 3 times the rate. And it was almost like you're sending it to the universe because
Yeah.
it shows that you're actually believing in yourself. You're valuing yourself more. So I I can't say for me I've ever asked and been like, that's it. It's more about the times I've said no, thank you, that I've gotten a better something else has come better.
See, that's exactly what I mean at the beginning when I was like, I'm invested in myself and then immediately was rewarded.
with like,
Yes.
because it's scary. You're like saying no to money in business. You're like, what am I crazy?
Right.
And you're like, it always, now it's privileged to be able to. And sometimes you can't. Sometimes you have to say yes in
Yeah.
life. But that is so true. And I think like learning how to say no, and you can still be, like you said, you're like, no, thank you. Like you're still
Mhm.
being gracious. Thank you. I appreciate it, but I'm unavailable. No is a
Mhm.
complete sentence. And
Yes.
like people will get the picture and not try and lowball you when it's
Yeah.
like you're paying me for the years and years and decades of experience.
Yeah.
Like, and sometimes you want to help projects or help friends but it's never the friends who want to lowball you, I find. It's like people want to pay, like, and women want to pay, like I want to pay women with their worth, especially.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
and men are great and too, but I just especially I'm like, put your vote with your dollar. I want to
Yeah.
support people doing cool things, and especially when they're doing their dreams or like taking the risk of having their own money, like whatever I can
Mhm.
do, like to have the rising tide lifts all ships, like pay people what they're worth, you know?
Yeah. There's a reason why if someone charges what they charge,
Right.
and if that doesn't work in your budget, that's okay. You just have to find what will suit that. And on the other side, like our side of it, it's if you really want to be a part of a project, do it. Why not? You know what I mean? Like you don't have to make a ton of money to feel fulfilled either. If you really enjoy something, by all means do it. If it's your friend and you want to help them out, absolutely. To me, that's like raking in karma points anyway. It's like you're doing
Yeah,
things out of the goodness of your heart at that point. It's like,
totally.
yeah, you can definitely do that. And I've done that sometimes where then a paying job comes in on the day. Of course, I have something else booked for free or for a friend or whatever. And then you just got to say no. And it's like, but then you just kind of have to have the faith that like, hey, it's going to come back around. My
Yes.
mom is a very big positive thinker. She's just like, you just have to remember that my mom's best quote is, the universe provides. So
Yeah.
anytime I get down on myself and I'm like, oh, I messed up, I missed out on, whatever, she goes, the universe provides. It wasn't meant for you. The right, whatever's coming will come.
Yeah.
So universe provides is, I try to always remember that. If I get negative on myself, I try to be like, all right, that one wasn't for me.
True. Yeah. And it's
Yeah.
like, I don't chase, I attract whatever
Yeah.
I desire, whatever is meant for me is going to find me. Like, I don't
Yep.
just more of what is good for, I don't know that. Yes, it
Yeah.
provides. And sometimes better
Yeah.
than you could have imagined a lot of times.
Yeah.
Let's great segue. Let's talk about your mom. So Diane, right?
Diane, yes.
And were you always close growing up, or did you ever butt heads when you were younger?
I think I'm going to say yes. We were always pretty close. My mom really is just amazing. She, like I said, she is my number one fan. She has always supported me. Even when I was like a brat in high school and
Awkward.
I was a soccer player. I didn't want to go to gym class sometimes and I would skip and I got in trouble. So we'd have to have a meeting. And my excuse was, hey, listen, I got to go run 6 miles after school. Why am I going to go play badminton in the gym right now? Like, that's not
Yeah,
my exercise. Soccer is my exercise. And my mom was
that's
like, well,
fair.
she does have a point. But my mom was also a teacher, like I mentioned. So there was a weird level
Uh,
of my behavior in school and my mom's support or lack of support. But she was always amazing. And yeah, she's always really tried to understand me. I have ADHD and I was diagnosed pretty young. And because of that, my mom has always helped me manage that, learn how to manage it, which now as an adult, thank God she helped me when I
yeah.
was a kid because time management, that is half my job is being on time, if I tell somebody it's going to take
Cognizant
me,
of, yeah.
yeah, if they say, how long will this makeup take? And I say 10 minutes and it takes me 30, not okay.
We've had so many.
Um, happens a lot, still happens sometimes, but she was just always my supporter, really, really was. And then, I had my teenage years, I think, where we all think we know it all and we all, we're those kids. But aside from that, I mean, she took me to New York when I said I wanted to work in fashion and I want to do this. And we'd go to New York and we'd go see, just see what it's like and check it out. And I took art classes on the weekends when I was in high school. I actually would take the train into the Boston on my own because I lived outside the city. I'd take the train by myself and I went to this fashion school program, and she just always supported my endeavors. And she still does, thankfully. So we've always gotten along. And now that I've clearly grown up, I realize, our similarities are so obvious sometimes. So now, I mean, my mom probably since I was 20, once I got out of my little punk years, um, she's been my best friend. I mean, I talk to her probably the most out of most people, in a week. And I tell her probably more than almost everybody I know as well. So, and she's good or bad, she's always supported me. So thank God.
Well, I mean, if she could see the reasoning for you skipping class, and I mean, she obviously must be pretty level-headed and like supportive genuinely.
She didn't want to, she's not the kind of mom who's going to support it. But, it was like, you need to go, you need to do these things.
But could see your side.
But she would hear me out. Let's put it that way. She would hear me out. So
you're still probably going to get some kind of like punishment maybe, but like, or like
there was reprimanding.
Yeah, reprimanding.
There was reprimanding for sure. But she would at least hear me out and try to understand, which I appreciate.
I mean, that's all anybody can ask for.
Yeah.
Are you close to your sister now that you were totally opposite when you were little?
I am. I think she and I would both agree, even now, that we always have like a window of time, where after maybe 5 days, we're kind of like, oh, it just, it creeps up on
you. Max limit to like hang out with each other?
Time. I think we need time limits. Yeah, it's just so funny. But again, we're also so much alike. But I feel like with us, maybe that works against us sometimes too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's funny. We have a lot of things in common and then some things not at all. And so, but as we've gotten older, yes, we've certainly, we're incredibly close. She also lives in California now, which is great. Oh. So we try to see each other when we can and do some fun things. But we're far enough away. What's that?
But not for longer than 5 days.
No more than 5 days. I think 5 days. I think 5 days is a good rule with almost anybody.
My mother-in-law, did she say that? Somebody told me house guests are like, maybe she didn't say that. I thought she did. House guests are like fish. After 3 days, they start to stink. Like, and I was like, 3 days. That's funny of like having people in your space in life. I mean, maybe. Some people you can flex more than 3 or 5, but for the most part.
Exactly. Yeah. I think a 3 to 5 day rule for a lot of people, unless you can like establish otherwise. It's like, guilty until proven innocent or vice versa. It's just like, until you can establish a longer than 5 day, just stick to 5 days. It's safer.
Yeah.
You got to prove yourself outside of that.
Yeah. 100%. Did your mom always want to be a teacher? What grade did she teach?
My mom was a second grade teacher for, I think, her entire career, really. She always wanted to go into education. Also it was a time when going to college, I think, women had to choose between 3 things: nurse, secretary, teacher. It was more rare to go further outside of that realm. But I think she was an amazing teacher. I actually got to see her in classroom a couple times growing up when I was a teenager, especially. She was amazing. She's so good with kids. It really is incredible. But she especially loved like that age range. And there's a lot of my mom, I think, that in some ways, she's always a kid at heart, which keeps her so young and fun too. It just worked. It just gelled. And then later in her career, she actually became a principal of a kindergarten to second grade school. And she was there for about 8 years and then was able to retire.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, teachers, they're not paid enough. They're not appreciated enough. And like literally everybody knows a teacher that hopefully I think so. Everybody I've ever talked to has like that teacher that was like so formidable, so like encouraging or like changed their life in some way because they invested in them in a way that, I mean, especially when you're like dreaming of like going to fashion school and it's expensive, like parents are like, maybe you could think about business or marketing or something that's translatable, but it worked out for us. So
it worked out, thankfully.
But no wonder, like she was so encouraging and like taking you to New York to go see things and look at programs and look at how it was because like she didn't have as many obvious opportunities other than maybe like the few paths in that generation. So that must have been really exciting.
Yeah. Yeah. She's always supported both, like I said, my sister and I in kind of anything we want to do. And my sister's gone more into like the business side of life, and done incredibly well for herself and super, super talented and is currently now an interior designer. And that was kind of her COVID, pivot, like a lot of people did.
Yeah.
But my mom and I think we're like her first clients. We were always like, yes, please come. Like she did this bedroom. This
I was
wallpaper.
gonna say, did she do this cool wallpaper? It's great job.
That was my sister. So I think my mom and I were like her first clients. We were like, take my house, do whatever you want. Because she is very creative. My mom's an art person too, actually. So I think there's that gene is just in my family. And so my mom has also always encouraged it for all of us.
That's so cool. Well, yeah, I wonder, you're all like creative and do it in different ways. And well, what do you admire most about your mom?
Her strength, without a doubt. My mom has been, my mom was single, like I said, for a lot of my childhood growing up, and worked full time and did that truly. And then got remarried to an amazing man who's my stepdad. And they've been married now for, oh my God, I want to say it's almost 30 years, which is awesome. But she's just such a strong person. She's had her ups, she's had her downs, throughout her personal life, I think, through our lives, and just life in general these days. My mom never I feel like she never misses a beat. Like she is my one person that's solid and a rock in my life, truly. Like I can go to her with anything. Like I said, I tell her things that I don't tell a lot of people, and I don't feel like there's going to be judgment or, anything, no anger, no, she's just like, all right, well, let's talk about that then. Like, and she'll kind of adapt to whatever the scenario is. And she'll share things about herself that you might not always expect your mom to share, but she will if she knows it'll help you, and she has just always been right there for me. And in her strength throughout everything in life, I think is so admirable, because life gets hard no matter what. And she is just a rock of a human being. It's really incredible.
How are moms? How are moms? Like,
I don't know. How to mom is
especially with such like you and your sister were so wildly different growing up. Like me, I have a twin brother and my little sisters, and we're all like so different. And you're just, you've never done it before, and you're just forming people's lives and futures and keeping them alive. Like with your cats, with like my dogs, that seems like so much. And can't even speak the same language. Like it's, wow, moms, shout out to moms.
Shout out to moms.
Constantly amazed. It's amazing. Like we're not having human children either, but it's like, I'm amazed. It's like so many, and just seeing friends and my brother become a parent, like it's amazing. Everybody, they're also not getting enough support as like teachers. I'm like,
no, yeah, exactly.
So much.
I think about my mom, being a second grade teacher and then coming home and having to sit and do homework with my sister and I. It's like you never left work, or you never left home, because you're kind of doing the same job 24 hours a day with children and learning. And I mean, I'm tired, after I scoop a litter box or
exactly. Or just, I mean, you get off a job and somebody, like maybe a friend is like, hey, what do you think about this eyeshadow palette? And you're like, I've just been talking about makeup all day. I don't want to do it anymore. Like, or somebody will be like, hey, what's the deal with can you look at my social and I'm like, no, my bandwidth, I'm just out. I don't want to talk strategy when I'm off. And I've started to say that like kind of like a jerk, but I'm like, listen, we all need to like take a break. I can't be working all day and night.
Yeah.
I need to like my brain.
That's kind of the nice thing nowadays with our generations, where we've set better boundaries, I think, for ourselves. Thank God. But that expectation wasn't there until more recently. So our moms were just, the expectation was, you don't get to have boundaries, you have kids.
Everything like, at 100% all the time,
all day, every day. And nowadays, I think the structure for parents especially is a little bit easier. There's a little more like leniency and forgiveness where it's like, hey, you had a bad day as a parent.
Yeah.
That's okay. It's all good.
Perfect. Nobody's perfect.
Yeah. It's like, please give yourself a little break.
And like dads are supporting more than they probably did. I mean, certainly
Yeah.
in our parents' generation. So, but
Yeah.
I mean, we're not there, but we'll take baby step changes, but baby
Baby
steps.
steps. Totally.
Normally I'd ask, did she have a slogan or mantra? But it sounds like the universe provides.
Well, I have another good one actually.
Yeah.
I have so the universe provides is truly just she doesn't have any tattoos, but maybe that would be her one tattoo. The universe provides.
Right across.
um, the other one that I love, and I think she learned this herself somewhere. I think it was passed on possibly, but I love telling it to other people because it's such a good reminder that we forget sometimes. And she always says, "Stop trying to buy milk at the hardware store."
Oh,
Yes. Or don't go looking for milk at the hardware store. Basically saying, when I get so frustrated, or if you've had a bad relationship and you're like, why doesn't this person do this for me, or blah? And she's like, because you're looking for milk at the hardware store. So it's sometimes you're not going to get what you want or need when you're already in the wrong place for it. And I think that is the most genius way to think about it is you're looking for milk at a hardware store. They don't have it.
they're
So you
just
got to move on.
that is good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I
That's
feel like life is so much about like all in the right timing is something like I say all the right like everything at the right time. It could be the right thing. If it's not the right time, it's not going to work. So like that goes
yeah.
hand in hand of like if you're looking for something or trying to force that, you're not going to find milk at the hardware
Yeah.
store.
Or don't expect something from someone when you kind of probably know they're not capable of it,
Yeah.
or this job situation. It's like, don't expect something more if they've already kind of told you what's on the table. You just got to either accept it or move on. And that's kind of with everything. So it's her kind of funny way of saying, move on.
Yeah. Just like
Yeah. Stop, move on. It's time to
something
go.
like chain stitch embroider on a pillow, but really it could just be move on, period.
Just move on.
Just move on
Yes.
already.
Yeah.
So good. Well, is there a song or beauty tip or a piece of jewelry that she always wears or something that makes you think of her?
Ooh. Um, there is a song actually, and it was one that we would play in the car when I was a kid, and it was just the two of us. The song, just the two of us. It's old, and I don't even know who sings it anymore. Um, and there's just something so sweet about that because it was before she had my sister, so I was still really young as well.
Oh, it was like
Um,
your sister,
she
but
was in
like
the back seat, and
hard
we just
time.
pretended she wasn't.
Um, Grover,
No, that was what's that?
Grover Washington and Bill Withers.
Thank you.
Thanks
Bill
it.
Withers, just the two of us.
Classic.
Yeah.
Good
There's
one.
something just sweet about that, there was like this moment in time where it was literally kind of just the two of us. And, um, I think that stays in my head because it's kind of like she'll always be with me. So even if it's just me in a room, I think she's kind of always with me no matter what. So it is always the two of us.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's so sweet.
Thanks. I
Like
love
you're
her.
an angel that you get
Yeah.
to like hug and see in person too. That's beautiful.
Yes, thankfully.
Thankfully. Well, final question. If you could say
Sure.
anything to Diane, what would it be?
Ooh, okay, that's where I have to try not to cry. Um,
Cry, that's allowed. But
yeah. Well, simple words. Thank you for always being by my side, always being my guide, my rock, my inspiration, um, and being just my number one fan and my best friend. Truly.
oh, it's so good. I know you said she was a little shy, or else we would have called her and told her, but I think she'll cheer up to you.
she
So,
she's very shy, which is clearly not something I got from her. I got that the personality, the outward, I got more from my dad, that's for sure. Um, but she is a little shy, although once you get her going, she's hilarious.
I bet. I mean, it sounds like she just has so much wisdom and especially like such a good reminder to be like, stay a kid at heart because especially like
Yes.
after engaging with, I'm like, second grade, was that 8 years old? like 7 or 8 year olds for
7 or
so
8.
long. Like you just look at the world differently, I'm sure. And like
Yeah.
have to be positive. So I've learned a lot of wisdom from her today. Thank you
Yes,
for sharing
good.
her with us.
Yes, my pleasure.
Well, thank you. Literally, I know how busy you are and I appreciate your time. I'm so excited
you.
to have met you, and we'll have to, when I'm in LA next, if
Please.
stars align, we will get together in person. Go try your coffee shop.
Yes, let's go to my coffee shop.
Go do it.
I would love it.
But thank you. If you want to check out more of all the cool things and all the awards she's winning, you can follow Erin on Instagram at ELEBREEE, 3 E's at the end for Erin LeBre. But you can type in the name too, probably, and she'll show up there. Yeah, thank you so much. And thanks for listening and coming to the party, everybody. Remember, if you have the gift of calling your mom or grandma or mentor or matriarch, please go do it. Go call them, tell them you love them, ask them about their life. Have a wonderful week. Bye.
At some point in the digital age of boss babes, new money, and ambitious rookies, we stopped consulting our village's wisest. Women have been the heartbeat of the world within their respective communities, workforces, and families since the dawn of time. They are the magic makers, the peacemakers, and the ass kickers. Let's celebrate them with the Matriarchy Party.